2 o'clock അല്ലേ?
Yes, ma'am. 2 o'clock നമുക്ക് start ചെയ്യാം. Sharp.
ശരി. So എങ്ങനെ how will it be?
Ma'am, there will be formal welcome speech, introduction of the resource person. After that, we will hand over to you.
Okay, thanks. All right. Yeah.
Ma'am, am I audible enough?
Yes, Angel, you may proceed.
Okay, ma'am, thank you. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. Myself, Angel Aldo, second year BCom student, and I'm so delighted to be the host of this webinar. Welcoming you all to this wonderful webinar on behalf of Women's Health. Today is indeed an auspicious day for all of us as we are here to be a part of a webinar session Learn First Aid and Save Lives organized by Women's Health in association with CanCare Foundation as a part of observing World First Aid Day. Every year, World First Aid Day is observed on the second Saturday of September to spread awareness of first aid and how it can prevent injuries and save lives in a critical situation. This year, World First Aid Day was celebrated on September 11, 2021 across the globe. The day is observed to increase awareness and accessibility to first aid. The theme for World First Aid Day 2021 is First Aid and Road Safety. World First Aid Day is an annual campaign aimed at promoting the importance of first aid training and increasing its accessibility to save more lives in a crisis. When a person suffers from minor or serious injuries or illness, the first and immediate assistance given to the patient is termed as first aid. So, it is necessary to impart awareness on this topic, and I hope this session will be very useful to everyone who have gathered here. So, without any further ado, let's begin the session. God speaks in the silence of the heart. Listening is the beginning of prayer. At the very outset, let's seek the presence of God Almighty to direct the right pathway throughout. Let me call upon Angamaly, second year BCom, for the invocation.
ദൈവമേ നിൻ പാദപൂജ ചെയ്തിടുവാനെനിക്കെന്നും എന്നുമെന്നും മടിയാതെ തോന്നണമേ. ദൈവമേ നിൻ പാദപൂജ ചെയ്തിടുവാനെനിക്കെന്നും എന്നുമെന്നും മടിയാതെ തോന്നണമേ. സത്യമാണു ദൈവമെന്നും നീതിയാണു ദൈവമെന്നും സ്നേഹമാണു ദൈവമെന്നും തോന്നണമേ. സത്യമാണു ദൈവമെന്നും നീതിയാണു ദൈവമെന്നും സ്നേഹമാണു ദൈവമെന്നും തോന്നണമേ. ദൈവമേ നിൻ പാദപൂജ ചെയ്തിടുവാനെനിക്കെന്നും എന്നുമെന്നും മടിയാതെ തോന്നണമേ. ദൈവമേ നിൻ പാദപൂജ ചെയ്തിടുവാനെനിക്കെന്നും എന്നുമെന്നും മടിയാതെ തോന്നണമേ.
Thank you, Anita. Now it's time for a formal welcome for all. I'd like to welcome Rosemary Wilson, second year BSc Chemistry, to welcome the gathering.
A very warm good afternoon to one and all present here. As we all know, we all have gathered in this online platform to attend a webinar on the topic related to Learn First Aid and Save Life. First aid is the first and immediate assistance given to any person suffering from either a minor or serious illness. It is therefore necessary to make even the lay population ready to give at least basic first aid. Before we get started, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to everyone who have put the effort to organize this webinar. Let me get into my duty of welcoming each and every one of you to this session. First of all, I would like to welcome our respected principal, Dr. Sister Rosalie A.V., who is always there with guidance and support in all our activities. Welcome, sister. Today, We are extremely blessed to have the most suitable person to talk about this topic, Dr. Sarah Thomas, who is the founder of Can Care Assisted Living Facility and Palliative Care Center. On behalf of Morning Star Home Science College and on behalf of Youth Red Cross, I extend a warm welcome to you, ma'am. Next, I would like to welcome Dr. Navya Antony, who is a faculty member of Department of Chemistry in our college. She is also the coordinator of Youth Red Cross and Women's Cell. She is highly involved in helping oversee the successful completion of projects and webinars and took a great effort to organize this webinar. It's my pleasure to welcome you, ma'am. Next of all, I would like to welcome all our faculty members of Morning Star Home Science College who are always with encouragement and motivation. Last but not least, I welcome all the Youth Red Cross members, especially our student coordinators, Nitya and Nandana, and all the students gathered here to attend this webinar. I extend a hearty welcome to you all and wishing a fruitful session. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosmi. Now I welcome Dr. Navya Antony, the coordinator of Women's Cell and YRC, and also the faculty member of Department of Chemistry, to introduce the speaker of the day.
Thank you, Angel. Today, we are actually blessed to have the apt resource person for the topic, Learn First Aid and Save Lives. Dr. Sarah Thomas. She is the founder of Can Care Assisted Living Facility and Palliative Care Center. After completing her medical studies from KMC, Mangalore, she did her post-graduation on radiation oncology from Amarda Institute of Medical Sciences and later took an interest in palliative care. She witnessed large number of cancer patients being sent home whenever cure was not possible. There was lack of proper resources and services to help these ailing patients and families. This sorry state of affairs inspired Dr. Bobby Sarah Thomas to take up home-based healthcare as an alternative to improve the quality of life and well-being of those in need. Though the idea began with cancer patients, currently all senior citizens who need medical assistance are being seen by the team. This small initiative grew to a residential and assisted living facility in Cochin now. With immense pleasure and privilege, I take this opportunity to welcome you, ma'am, on behalf of Morning Star Home Science College. It's over to you, ma'am.
Navya was personally invited me. I want to thank you all for having me here. First aid is something that we think that it is something that ഒരു band-aid അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു bandage ഇടാൻ അറിയാവുന്നത് first aid ആണ്. But actually first aid is a lot more than just that, and it is important now ഇപ്പോഴത്തെ with the current scenario. It's important that we know some of the basics of first aid. So you all are home science students. What I understand is that there are different batches and nearly first, second, third years, and I think everyone is at home.
What streams are there, ma'am? Not only home science, it's regular arts and science college, and we have all the other departments like commerce, physics, chemistry, zoology, home science included. Yeah. And English students, economics, yeah.
Nice. Okay, so we have one second. I think I'm not able to share the slide. 1 second, I think. Yeah, so slide is not responding. 1 minute.
Okay, ma'am. I think you may rejoin. Then will the issue be solved?
Yeah, I just rejoined it.
Okay. Okay. Dear students, let the resource person rejoin. We shall wait for a few minutes. Yeah, ma'am, it's coming. Can you please make it full screen, ma'am? Ma'am, you are on mute. Kindly unmute, ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, sorry. I think now.
Yeah, it's now audible and visible. And from current slide, you may
Is it
start
audible now?
so that it will be in full screen.
Audible?
Yeah, you are audible, ma'am. Now the screen disappeared. Earlier it was visible.
Okay, let me just get back to that. Okay. Yeah, so now we're talking about basic first aid. So in the event of a road traffic accident, or generally in a college, or in daily life itself, you can have different medical aspects of first aid. So we generally think first aid is just putting a bandage, but it is a lot more than that. So the first thing we are trying to achieve in this session is we recognize the benefits of obtaining first aid. We should identify the proper procedures for emergencies. We may face different things, and we should be able to help in administering first aid. And the most important thing is we should do no further harm. So these are the main objectives in doing this session. So the first thing is the benefits. When there is an emergency, it can be bleeding, it can be choking, it can be a heart attack, it can even be different situations can arise where we are suddenly faced with an emergency and we may not know what to do. So the 4 basic rules of first aid are call for help immediately. The second thing is bring help to the victim. That is in the Western countries it's called 911. In our case, it is call an ambulance. Get help from whoever is available nearby. The third thing is check the ABCs. That is airway, breathing, circulation. These are the 3 the three ABCs or the basics of first aid. And fourthly, do no further harm. So the basic rules are, we are trying to preserve life. So first aid is not doing, a big procedure and trying to, you're not doing a surgery or any of those things. The basic thing is just you want to preserve that life and make sure that till the proper professional help arrive, we are able to sustain life. The second is to alleviate suffering. If the person has broken a bone or fractured something, or, and to put them in a comfortable position so that they are free of pain. We should prevent the condition from worsening. Sometimes when we suddenly, try to shift a person, we may actually cause more injury, and we need to promote recovery. നമ്മൾ പ്രധാനമായിട്ട് ശ്രദ്ധിക്കേണ്ട കാര്യങ്ങള് നിലവിലുള്ള സിറ്റുവേഷനിലേക്കാട്ടിലും അത് വേഴ്സ് ആക്കാതെ നോക്കുക. അതൊരു ഇമ്പോർട്ടന്റ് പാർട്ട് ഓഫ് ഫസ്റ്റ് എയ്ഡ് ആണ്. So how do we do that? Now, supposing you're in a situation, you have to evaluate the scene. Is it is it a safe place? Supposing there is an accident, the person is inside the vehicle, you need to get the person out. If you don't have the proper tools, don't try to pull the person out, but inform and wait for their help to arrive. But if it is possible to safely evacuate the victim, then do so. Assess for the safety aspects, and prioritize care. If there are any medical alerts, like if they have any conditions or anything which makes it obvious that they are a sick person, then check for those things. So check the person out. If it is possible for you to evaluate the person, do a head to toe check and move the patient only if necessary. Usually the injuries are worsened when we try to shift without knowing what is the problem. Then, so these are the checklists: evaluate the scene, assess, prioritize, check for medical alerts, do a head-to-toe check, and move only if necessary. Now, supposing the person is in a position where you're not able to, the person is not breathing, then the first thing is to check whether there is breath. How do we check whether there is breath? You can actually see the chest moving. So if there is no breathing, then make the person lie down on the back. Like you can see this person's head is flat, and put them on the floor, put the head flat, and give the chest compressions. I'll show you a video later on how to give the chest compressions. Then slightly you have to tilt the head and continue giving the CPR till the person or emergency medical services arrive. Now, should you give mouth-to-mouth breathing? Actually, mouth-to-mouth breathing is currently not recommended in adults. So the main thing is to continue to give CPR. Now, if there is a blood loss or person has got a bleeding, you're seeing an injury, you don't have a bandage, any clean piece of cloth even you can remove. And the first thing is to stop the flow of blood. Apply pressure. Now, if it is you can actually, there is a device called a tourniquet. If you don't have a tourniquet, any a saridatum or even any piece of cloth, you just have to just firmly tied. It should not be too tight that the blood supply is completely cut off, but it should be firmly tied so that the blood flow is reduced. So stop the flow of blood. If it is on the on the viral or any other part of the body where there is an open wound, get a clean cloth and apply pressure to stop the blood flow. Now, wearing gloves, definitely we need to protect ourselves. Now, supposing we don't have gloves, make sure that there is some kind of barrier and that you do not directly expose yourself to the blood, because here in this case, so many diseases can be transmitted like that. So we should ensure our safety as well. Cover the wound, apply pressure, and supposing there is a we commonly have finger is amputated, or some part is amputated. The best way to preserve it is put it in ice, seal it in a proper bag, and reach it in the hospital. If there is no time for these things, then usually people don't have ice, you don't have whatever temperature it is there, try to get it it is preserved better if we can freeze it at a lower temperature. Now, supposing the person is in shock. What is shock? They've lost so much of blood. Now, different types of shock are there. Usually in road accidents, we find that, they have lost a lot of blood. So they become unconscious. And so in that situation, we need to put the victim down, cover them so that, they'll be warm, raise the feet, keep the foot end elevated. So this is one of the important things when there is so much of blood loss, that the blood supply to the different organs is reduced and the person becomes in a unconscious state. So in that case, the thing to do is to lift the leg up so that, the blood supply is also increased. So this is the basic things to remember. We don't have to do a lot of things. Simple things can present. A patient has a person saying they have a saying
Hello, excuse me,
in front of
ma'am.
it. This happens a lot.
Your voice is breaking.
Voice is breaking. Okay.
Yes.
Is it better now?
Yeah, now it's okay.
So first thing always in any first aid measure is call for help. That is the first thing that we need to do. Call an ambulance or call for help. Make the victim comfortable. If the clothing is tight, loosen the tight clothing. Check for any medications that they are they're having, and make sure that the victim does not move around. See, if the more they move around, the more the activity is more on the heart. So try to keep the victim still. So in a person having a chest pain also, it's important that we stabilize the person till the medical help comes. Even that is actually a first aid. So even if we are not doing anything much, just keeping the victim still itself is actually the best thing we can do, rather than moving them around. So in certain cases, the help may take a longer time. Now, supposing they have a cardiac arrest at that time, then start CPR. So another common scenario you'll find is choking. So this is called a Heimlich's maneuver. You ask the person to speak or cough out loud, strongly they cough, but sometimes they are not able to because they are choking. So at that time, deliver blows on the back. So deliver at least 5 back blows, and then hold the person like this from behind, uh, you know uh, around the abdomen, and push upwards. So this repeat sequence of back blows and abdominal thrust usually is very effective for choking. Usually if you go to a restaurant now, of course, restaurants are closed, but even in the canteen, there can be situations where this can happen. So it's a very simple thing to do. Just hit the person on the back blows, and then perform the abdominal thrust. So we are trying to push the choking object so this is an assistance. It's called the Heimlich's maneuver, and choking is something we can constantly see around us. Now, in case of electrical shock, now here we have to be very careful. Don't touch the person. Why? Because you will also be electrocuted. Then you also will need help. So the first thing to do in an electrical shock is switch off the main, switch off the power supply, and call the ambulance or 911. In the Western Ghana is 911. We need to call an ambulance. Remove the person from the live wire. Unless you move the person away, you cannot don't start any first aid measures unless you move the person away. Then check for breathing. If the person is not breathing, like I said before, start CPR. So electrical shock, I remember even my own sister's house, the person had come for repairing the electricity cable or something, and he got electrocuted. So he was literally thrown off, and because of the electrical shock, and they did CPR and he survived. So these are all basic things which we need to know. Till the ambulance comes, do the CPR, and usually electric shock and all that, patients persons do survive. So another common scenario that we have is, even in a road traffic accident, or even in the college, in general scenarios, people can faint. Now, fainting, the first thing is check for breathing. Are they breathing? Like the ABCs, airway, breathing, circulation. This is the three things you have to check. So breathing, if the person is not breathing, start CPR. If the ambulance is delayed, if the person is still not recovering, then you need to call an ambulance. If the person faints, usually we have to wait for some time, raise the a person by, you can snap them awake, see if they are coming back, wait for a few minutes. If they're not breathing, call the ambulance and start CPR. If they're conscious, you lay the victim down with the foot end elevated. Now here, one of the things is they are putting him on the couch. So you need to position in such a way, I had shown earlier, like even a person with shock, is to keep the foot end up. Many times we put the pillow under the head, but actually you should put the pillow under the feet. So if a person has fainted, they have this thing of sprinkling water and all that. You don't have to sprinkle water, but any stimulus to the cheek can actually waken the person. And put the foot end up. These two simple things are usually sufficient for somebody who has fainted. So here, I want to ask you all to, if this is just a simple exercise. So maybe you can answer me. If it is a person you see who is bleeding, okay, what will be the match the problem with the correct first aid procedure? So for bleeding, what should you do? If the person is, there is blood flowing out, what do you need to do? Should you do CPR? Should you keep the foot end up? Any one of you can unmute your mics and you can answer. You need to keep the victim still. Do you apply pressure to stop the bleeding, or abdominal thrust? Which among these options will you choose?
Pressure.
Direct pressure.
Direct pressure, exactly. Bleeding person does not need direct pressure over the bleeding, and usually we need to apply pressure for at least 5 to 8 minutes. So usually what we do, put the pressure, then we look again, put the pressure, look again, then it will bleed again. So you apply pressure and hold it there, so that the clots will take some time to form, and you need to apply pressure sufficient time so that the bleeding is reduced. So direct is the thing that you have to do in case of bleeding. Now supposing a person is choking, but choking normally CPR, will you keep the foot and up, keep the victim still. Direct pressure, we already said, is for bleeding. Or abdominal thrust, a person is choking, you're seeing the person choking, what will you the head,
Abdominal thrust.
that's a wrong thing.
Abdominal thrust.
Abdominal thrust, exactly. First you hit them on the back, then go from behind and just push up. Now supposing it is a small baby, it's a real pillar, it is very small baby choking. The best thing to do is put the child upside down and hit on the back. Just put the child upside down and just apply back thrust. That is sufficient for small babies. But in adults, this abdominal thrust is what we need to do. Now supposing a person is not breathing, what will we do? Not breathing, is it CPR?
CPR.
CPR. Yes, CPR. What is, I'll tell you details of CPR. CPR is, I think most of you will know what CPR is. Normally we see, the chest compression. So cardiopulmonary resuscitation is what is the full form. But CPR, if the person is not breathing, give CPR. Now a heart attack, if a person has developed a heart attack, what will you do? Did you give CPR, keep the foot end up, keep the victim still, or direct pressure? So it has to be one of these two. Which one is it? Person has developed a heart attack.
Keep the person still.
Keep the person still. Very good. And for shock, you keep the foot end elevated. Shock and fainting, you keep the foot end elevated. So choking, you got it right. Heart attack, shock, elevate the. Okay. So You understood the basic first aid procedures for not breathing, if they're bleeding, if there is shock, heart attack, no breathing CPR, bleeding, no breathing CPR. For bleeding, apply pressure. If there is shock, keep the foot end elevated. If there is a heart attack, try to keep the person still. If there is choking, abdominal thrust. If there is electric shock, again remove the person from the live wire and then assess. If there is no breathing, start CPR. Okay, so again, one more quiz. Supposing there is a road traffic accident, will you move the person immediately move a person to a comfortable position? Well, a road accident, you seeing a person who's injured, or what should you do? Is this a true or false statement? After an accident, will you immediately move the victim to a comfortable position? Yes or no?
Yes.
Anybody wants to answer that?
True. True.
True.
Actually, it is false. Why is it false? Because sometimes they may be having a fracture, and especially this neck area fractures. If you move the person, those nerves can get injured. The first thing is to ask the person, are they in pain? And if they are able to move their hands and legs. If they are not able to move the hands and legs, it is always better to wait for a professional or medical ambulance team to arrive and then shift the patient. Now, in our situations, what happens many of the time is we don't have that facility, so we need to shift a person. If that is the case, make sure that this neck end is stable. How will you stabilize it? So usually we don't have too many equipments and all available with us. So it's a simple mechanism that you can actually do is just to support the person from the shoulders instead of pulling from the head. Support the shoulders and then shift the person. Now, if they are not able to move their hands or their legs, then you may need one more person's assistance to actually come and take them out of that situation. So don't try to drag or pull a person. After an accident, it is sometimes better to wait till people come, and 2 or 3 people can shift the person to a comfortable position. If a person is bleeding, use a tourniquet. Is this true or false? What is a tourniquet? I told you tourniquet is a device that is used to actually apply pressure. So is this true or false?
True.
Actually, it is. Yeah, so in this case, it is false only because if the person is bleeding, the thing is, it is only on the limbs that you use the tourniquet. Otherwise, it is direct pressure. Okay, so if the person is bleeding, use the tourniquet only if it is on the arms or the legs, and the otherwise direct pressure is the best thing. Okay, signs of a heart attack. How do you know if the person is having a heart attack? Is it shortness of breath, anxiety, if person starts sweating? Yes, okay, I think this was not covered, but signs of heart attack, usually it is they will be having some anxiety, perspiration, or burns. Okay, burns are not covered, so we'll go to the next one. Yeah. So the main points to remember is that medical emergency can actually happen anytime. We need to act quickly, calmly, and correctly. Okay, the main take home is that, and I'll just show one more slide on one second. just share a link. If you have any questions, you can ask. And
ready to hatch some pets. Click here to make your
Hello, ma'am. It's
very own.
shared, I think, ma'am. Hello.
yeah, you cannot hear? Okay, 1 minute.
We can hear, but it's not visible.
Oh, it's not visible. Okay.
I think you need to share it once again.
The sound is it audible?
Sound was audible, but as you did earlier, you need to share once again, I think, the window. If it is a YouTube, that window has to be shared.
It's not. Okay, got it. All right.
Yeah, it's coming now. Yes, ma'am, it's now visible. I think you may turn it full screen. First one. Right side, ma'am, right side. Yeah.
Are you okay? Are you okay? You, call 911. You, call 911. You, get an AED. Get an AED.
This is a scene that plays out over 1,000 times every day in the United States. If you see or find an adult or teen who has collapsed, they could be in cardiac arrest, and you need to act now. Assess for any signs of movement or normal breathing. If the person has slow, deep gasps, this is not the same as breathing. Call 911 or direct someone to call. Treat. Press hard and fast on the center of the chest. Place the heel of your dominant hand directly on the center of the chest and interlock the fingers of your other hand. Keep your arms straight and lean over the victim, using your body to compress the chest. Push down hard. You need to compress the chest at least 2 inches and push 2 times every second or 120 times per minute. Allow the chest to recoil completely with each compression. If the victim is on a soft surface, like a bed or a couch, move them to the ground before beginning compressions. Mouth ventilation. Mouth to mouth is not needed for adults or teens and could be harmful. Perform chest compressions only. However, mouth is needed for young children and infants. While performing chest compressions, direct someone close by to get an AED. The AED, or automated external defibrillator, is the only thing that will shock the victim's heart back into normal function. When the AED arrives to the victim, simply turn it on. The AED will only deliver a shock to someone who needs it. Do not be afraid to put it on anyone who is unconscious. Now that you know how to act, let's watch this again.
Are you okay? You call 911. You get an AED.
Keep your arms straight and lean over the victim, using your body to compress the chest. You need to push down hard. You need to compress the chest at least 2 inches and push 2 times every second or 120 times per minute.
Okay. Stay calm.
Yeah, so I just wanted to show you how to do the CPR. So AED and all is not available in most of the places, and the defibrillator and all are not available. But the basic thing we can do is CPR. So you might think, oh, you don't know how to do CPR. It's very simple. I think that video has demonstrated it really well. So primarily, these are the few basic things when we are dealing with even a road traffic victim. Usually, some of them will be in shock, some may be having burns. So if it is burns and all that, we just have to be very careful in making sure that they reach the hospital also as soon as possible. So the immediate measures are, if there is a bleeding, arrest the try to apply pressure. If there is a shock, keep the foot end elevated. If the person is not breathing, start CPR. So this is the basic things about first aid. I was also thinking, if any of you have any questions and you have been in any position where you're suddenly required to give CPR, you can maybe unmute your mics and you can feel free to ask any questions.
What will happen if someone stops us from doing CPR? There are sometimes people who I have read that sometimes there are people who even if you who will stop you from giving CPR, if they see something going on, what will we do then?
Yeah, so this is where I think awareness is the key. When you know the benefit of CPR, then only you will be able to give it. So the thing is that you have to, many times communication also helps, but in such a situation, there's really not much you can do. Now, supposing the person's relative or a close person nearby prevents you from giving CPR, at least call an ambulance and get help. But we must talk to them and tell them, we know about CPR. It is the only thing that will save their life. If the ambulance is delayed, we must do something to make sure that the heart is pumping. So the idea behind CPR is the pressure is just to give enough compression so that the heart functions are sustained till they can get help. So that's a difficult situation to be in, where you're not even allowed to give it. But the person's family, of course, you have to have their permission. Without that, there's really not much you can do. But this is life-saving. There's no other remedy other than this for saving a life. So it's important to know it, and basic situations to be able to administer CPR. Mm-hmm. Have you all any situations where you're suddenly seeing a person? Yeah, tell me, Anusri.
Good afternoon, ma'am. When performing the CPR, how long should we check the CPR is working, the person start breathing?
Yeah, you can give for 2 minutes and then wait for 10 seconds and then again start 2 minutes, every 2 minutes, and take a break for count to 10 and then resume again. So 2 minutes or even for 120 times a minute is what is recommended, and take a 10-second gap.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. What is the success rate of CPR?
What is the
success rate of CPR?
Success rate. Yeah, so this is something that it depends on how you're measuring the success. Now, the idea of CPR is it is life-saving in a majority of cases, or it is at least sustains the life till the person reaches the hospital. But the success rate of a condition, or supposing a person has had a heart attack, they have given CPR, they reach the hospital, but after they reach the hospital, the person is subjected to treatment, and then the treatment does not work. And I have had patients where CPR has been given and they reach the hospital, but despite that, we have lost patients. So the way to measure this is not in terms of will the success rate. It's actually, if you don't do it, it is 100% the mortality. If you don't do CPR, the person has zero chance of making it, unless you're within that 5 to 8 minute window, you're able to reach the hospital. So the failure rate, if you don't do it, is almost 100%. So I think more than that's why it is so important that you know about CPR, because when we fail to do it, many times we definitely lose patients. But if we do it, there is still a chance that the person can make it. But it depends on the treatment and their response to treatment.
മാം, ഓരോ ഇയറിലും ഫസ്റ്റ് ഡേയുടെ തീം ഡിഫറെന്റ് ആണല്ലോ, അതുകൊണ്ട് എന്താണ് ലക്ഷ്യമിടുന്നത്?
എങ്ങനെയായിരുന്നു?
ഓരോ ഇയറിലും ഫസ്റ്റ് ഡേയുടെ തീം ഡിഫറെന്റ് ആണല്ലോ, തീം. അതുകൊണ്ട് എന്തൊക്കെ ലക്ഷ്യമിടുന്നത്?
ഓരോ വർഷം തീം മാറ്റുന്നതിന്റെ ഓക്കെ. CPR in the situations എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് different scenarios ആണ്. So I think in each year they are trying to highlight one particular aspect. But road traffic accidents is the major cause of death. But road traffic accidents, the main reason why people die is because of bleeding karanam. They go into shock, or the positioning, and just when we are moving the victim, we are not careful. So then once you reach the hospital also, that whatever treatment you give, that initial first aid, if it is not done properly, then it will result in more lives being lost. So in this year they have used road traffic accidents to create awareness among people that especially bleeding. If you find a victim on the road and they are bleeding, if we just apply a handkerchief pressure apply that, it is life saving. So this year they are highlighting that aspect. So different every year avaru vere vishayangal eduthu they want to highlight that, create awareness. So when you focus on one thing, the probability of more people coming to know about it is always better. So I think that is the reason why every year, even health day, we focus on different aspects of health every year. Yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Okay, thank you.
That is a good question.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, Sumaya.
അപകടം സംഭവിച്ച ഒരാൾക്ക് പ്രാഥമിക ചികിത്സ നൽകിയിട്ടും അയാൾ അതിൽ നിന്നും രക്ഷപ്പെട്ടില്ല എങ്കിൽ നമുക്കെതിരെ നിയമപരമായ എന്തെങ്കിലും ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുകൾ ഉണ്ടാകുമോ?
Okay, very good question. Legal implications endana illa. You have no there is no legal implications. If നമ്മൾ ശരിക്കും പറഞ്ഞ ഒരു ആക്സിഡന്റ് വന്ന നമ്മൾ അതിൽ നിന്ന് ഒഴിഞ്ഞു മാറാൻ നോക്കും. മെയിൻ റീസൺ ബീയിങ് നമുക്ക് അറിയത്തുമില്ല, ഇനി വെറുതെ ചെന്ന് തല വെക്കണ്ടെന്ന് വിചാരിച്ചിട്ട്. സോ വൺ ഓഫ് ദ റീസൺസ് ഇസ് ദാറ്റ് വി ഫീൽ ഇനിയിപ്പോ ഇത് കേസ് വല്ലതും ആയാൽ പിന്നെ നമ്മള് ഇതിന് വിറ്റ്നസ് ആകാൻ പോകണം എന്നൊക്കെയുള്ള ചിലപ്പം, ഓർ പേഴ്സൺ ഇങ്ങനെ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ ലൈക്ക്, but that is a misinformation. There is no legal implications. Whoever is available, if they know to do it, they should do it. If they don't know, it cannot help. So we are trying to create awareness so that more people will do, but there are no legal implications.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon,
Good
ma'am.
afternoon, ma'am.
Okay.
Hello, yeah, Parna.
Ma'am, what are the two main concerns when giving first aid?
Yeah, two main concerns. First is your own safety. Second is the safety of the person. So your safety is the first thing. So നമ്മളിപ്പം ബ്ലഡും അങ്ങനെ ഒരു സീനിലോട്ട് പോകുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് we should also have protective equipment. So make sure that you don't put yourself in a position where you also need CPR or you have more problems later. So safety, your safety is also important. We need to save lives, but we also need to make sure that we are also protected. The second thing is that to have the presence of mind to actually not worsen the situation. Whatever you do, don't make it worse. I remember one accident case had come where because they pulled the person out, actually it resulted in more injuries. So it's better to wait till some help comes. So sometimes when we reflexively try to do things, we can actually worsen the scenario. So these are two things: take care of yourself and make sure that you are not worsening the situation.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Hi, ma'am. My question is that how can I be confident if I'm doing the right thing in the time of giving a first aid?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So how do I know that I'm giving the right thing? Which is why I said first assess. Okay, is the person bleeding? Is the person breathing? Is the person in pain? So first thing is the assessment. So when you're assessing, you have to realize that suppose in a road traffic accident, the obvious thing is the person injured? Injury well undo. So you can ask them, Cheta, or Chechi, vedhanayundo, evidengilum, are you feeling any pain? So if they say that they are feeling pain, then it is better to not change the position but to wait.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Good
Now,
afternoon, ma'am.
If the person is not breathing or anything, then you can immediately pull the person or make the person lie down and start CPR. If the person is bleeding, make sure that the pressure is applied. So the confidence will not come unless you are actually having a practice. So in a hospital situation, we definitely have the practice. That is why we are confident. But in your case, the simple way is at least to know that how to make an assessment. And if you don't know to do anything, call for help. That is the best thing you can do. You don't have to feel guilty that you don't know to do and you didn't do. But it is better to call for help and let others handle it. So your confidence should be at least these basic things. I think after today's class, some basic information. നമുക്കൊരു lay person ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങൾ മാത്രമേ ഞാൻ ഇന്ന് I have not discussed too much details because it doesn't make sense. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് you will not be able to apply it. ഇപ്പൊ ഒരു ഹോട്ടലിൽ ചെന്ന ഒരാൾ ചോക്ക് ചെയ്താൽ at least എന്ത് ചെയ്യണം എന്നുള്ളത് you have an idea. അത്രയും മതി. Or you see a road traffic accident, ഒരു ആംബുലൻസ് വിളിക്കണം എന്നുള്ളതെങ്കിലും if you know, then that should be sufficient. So I think I hope that I answered your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am,
So anyone has been in a situation like this? നിങ്ങൾ CPR അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു emergency situation കണ്ട ആരെങ്കിലും or anything like any live experience anybody has had? Okay, I think Suti, you were asking a question. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Medications അല്ലാതെ ഡിസ്നസ് എങ്ങനെ പ്രിവെന്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും?
ഏതാ?
Medications അല്ലാതെ.
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
How to prevent dizziness instead of medicines?
How to prevent
dizziness instead of medications?
Dizziness. Okay, dizziness. I mean, as part of first aid, we don't. I mean, if they are dizzy, but that's not related to the topic. എന്നാലും dizziness, usually you have to rule out inner ear problems, vertigo, BP issues, those kind of things. So you'll need we need to find out the cause for the dizziness. Dizziness first aid lo varunilla, but and it depends on the cause. If medication allade cause endano dizziness inde adansarichana adinte treatment. Okay, I don't want to get into that. It's not part of the topic. So yeah.
Ma'am,
Okay, I think yes, Parna.
can a first aider give out painkillers?
Hello, Abarna. Can you please
Ketilla.
clear?
Can a first aider give out painkillers?
ഫസ്റ്റ് എയ്ഡ് കിറ്റിൽ പെയിൻ കില്ലേഴ്സ് ഇൻക്ലൂഡഡ് ആണോ എന്നാണോ ചോദിക്കുന്നത്?
No medications should be administered as part of first aid. If a non-medical person is having to do first aid, you don't need to administer any medications. But usually first aid kit in the bhagamaita painkillers vararilla. Usually it will have only an antiseptic solution and band-aid material. The medications should be prescribed only by a medical professional. Painkillers anengilum, it's always better to be prescribed by a medical professional.
Ma'am, I have one more question.
Yes.
Ma'am, while doing CPR, whether our ribs break? Ma'am?
Yeah.
Do you hear my? Are you audible my question?
Anusri, please repeat, Anusri. I think she has not.
Ma'am, while doing CPR, whether our ribs break?
Yeah, if you apply too much pressure, that can also happen. It has been reported. So the right pressure, but it takes a lot of pressure to break the ribs, so you don't have to be afraid of that. Usually it doesn't happen. It doesn't usually happen. Pressure, it requires a lot of pressure to break the bone, so adu pedichu CPR cheyandirikenda.
Okay, miss, thank you.
ലൈവ് മീറ്റിംഗ് ആണ്, നിങ്ങളെയൊക്കെ ഒന്ന് കാണായിരുന്നു. പിന്നെ ദിസ് ഇസ് ഓൺലൈൻ മീറ്റിംഗ്, സോ യാ.
നോർമലി ലൈവ് മീറ്റിംഗ് ആണ് അറേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യാറ്. കാരണം ഫസ്റ്റ് എയ്ഡ് ആവുമ്പോൾ കുട്ടികൾക്ക് ഡെമോൺസ്ട്രേഷൻ ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ കൂടുതൽ ബെനിഫിഷ്യൽ ആവും. കോവിഡിന്റെ ഒരു സാഹചര്യത്തിൽ ഓൺലൈൻ പ്ലാറ്റ്ഫോമിലേക്ക് മാറിയതാ. ഈ ഒരു കോവിഡ് സിറ്റുവേഷനിൽ ശരിക്കും CPR ഒക്കെ കുറച്ചുകൂടെ റിസ്കി ആണല്ലേ? പക്ഷെ ലാസ്റ്റ് ടൈം ന്യൂസ് പേപ്പറിൽ നമ്മളൊരു ന്യൂസ് എല്ലാവരും വായിച്ചതാണ്, ഒരു പിഞ്ചു കുഞ്ഞിന്റെ ജീവൻ നഴ്സ് രക്ഷിച്ചത് ഈ ഒരു രീതിയിലാണെന്ന്. So I think more awareness has to be made.
Yeah, mouth breathing is definitely not required. At least chest compression matram kodutha madi.
Okay. കുട്ടികൾക്ക് നമ്മൾ ഇപ്പം റോഡ് ആക്സിഡന്റ്സിന്റെ ഒക്കെ സമയത്ത് സ്മോൾ കിഡ്സ് ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അവർക്ക് നമ്മൾ ഇത് അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ സൂക്ഷിക്കേണ്ടതുണ്ടെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു അല്ലേ? ഇപ്പൊ ചോക്കിങ്.
അതെ, ആൻഡ് പിള്ളേർക്ക് എയർവേ നമ്മൾ ബ്രീത്ത് കൊടുക്കണം എന്നാണ്. So for every 2 minutes we have to give rescue breaths we have to give, because children just CPR alone may not be enough.
Okay, so is there any further queries, students?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so actually it was a really wonderful session. Even if we missed the direct demonstration, live demonstration, ma'am has compensated it by means of showing us videos, and she has very clearly explained to us many important aspects that we have to take care of while doing our first aid. So we have to make it more aware about the need of giving first aid in order to save the life. So let us all try our best by making it on the right time. Okay, so let us move on to the final session of giving vote of thanks. Angel, it's over to you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. So once again, thank you, ma'am, for that wonderful webinar. The webinar was very informative for all of us, and I hope all of you enjoyed the webinar. Thank you is the best prayer that anyone could say. Thank you expresses extreme gratitude, humility, and understanding. Now, I invite Anzila MK, second year BSc Zoology, for the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, all. It's a matter of pride for me that I'm proposing a vote of thanks for this meeting. I, on behalf of Youth Red Cross, first of all, spread my most sincere thanks to God. I want to thank our resource person of the day, Dr. Sarah Thomas, who gave her vital time from her busy schedule to grace this meeting. Through her words, we now know the importance of first aid and road safety. Thank you, ma'am, for providing us with this valuable information. Next, I would like to thank our respected principal, Sister Dr. Rosalie Avey, for providing the support and guidance to organize all the activities in our college and for supporting us. Thank you, Sister. I thank coordinators of Youth Red Cross, Dr. Navya Anthony and Dr. Anjali Jacob for their efforts for arranging this session. Thank you, ma'am. I also take this opportunity to thank all our dear teachers for their immense support and motivation in all our endeavors. I would like to place my hearty thanks to all the volunteers and participators because of whom we made this meeting possible. Once again, I show my appreciation to the people who have been the strength of this meeting. Thank you for all your cooperation and patience. Thank you.
So once again, thank you all my dear students, and a special thanks to Sarah ma'am for joining us. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Shari, I'll leave the meeting then. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Students, you have to fill the feedback form before leaving the session. And thank you for your active participation. You actually made this session more fruitful. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.